Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Chalakaya. Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, Verse 24. Ishtva mam yagna hridayam yagnai pushkala dakshinai bhuktva cheha siddha tisha satya ante mam samsmarishyasi. Lord continued, I am the heart of all sacrifices. You will be able to perform many great sacrifices and also give great charities. In this way, you will be able to enjoy the blessings of material happiness in this life. At the time of your death, you will be able to remember me. The most important factor in this verse is the Lord's instructions regarding how to remember the Supreme Person of Godhead at the end of life. Ante Narayana Smriti. The result of whatever we do in executing spiritual activities is successful if we can remember Narayana, the Supreme Person of Godhead. This program of constant remembrance can be disturbed by many things. But Dhruva Maharaj's life would be so pure, as assured by the Lord himself, that Dhruva would never forget him. So this is very, very important. This program of constant remembrance. It can be disturbed by many things. But Dhruva Maharaj's life would be so pure that Dhruva would never forget him. What does this mean? What do we understand? What is the practical application of this statement? Actually, read the next one also. Thus, at the time of his death, he would remember the Supreme Lord, and before his death, he would enjoy this material world not by sense gratification, but by performing great sacrifices. What is the practical implication of this for us? What does this mean? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, I think in Bhagavatam, it is also mentioned when that Daksha Yagya Bhagna was happening, right? That sacrifice also means doing anything for the satisfaction of the Lord. As far as one person does that, then there is no need to you do any sacrifice because that devotee is already doing yagya. So maybe this thing is that Dhruv Maharaj Dhruv Maharaj will act the life like that. He will use all the resources at his disposal for satisfaction of the Lord, and he will be doing like yagya. And that is the practical application because he will not use that for his sense gratification, but for the satisfaction of the Lord, right?
Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Dhruva Maharaj has understood that asking for material after seeing the Lord, asking for something material was so foolish. And he realizes now that if he, everything should be into the Lord, and that will keep him away from all sense gratification and all his senses, mind. Like he's become like a pure devotee, like some. What the shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, no, Jnani and Dakshani. So he's become like that. Prabhu. So we have to be 24 hours. Anything we do, dovetail it to Krishna. Put our senses into Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. See, this is a classic example of how we should try to understand Prabhupada's statements. Hmm. Um, we should take the statement piece by piece. Okay. So first is program of constant remembrance can be disturbed by many things. So first, what do we understand? So you have to dissect the statement like this and understand. Okay. So first of all, our program is of constant remembrance. That means that we should figure out some way by which we are going to constantly remember Krishna. That is our program. First one, first part. Second part is that even if there is some program like that, it will be disturbed by many things, which is material, because we are in this material world. So there are going to be many obstacles. But why Prabhupada is using but? It will be disturbed by many things, but because his life would be so pure, meaning there can be disturbances, but that way a devotee should live his life should be pure. So which means that there will be disturbances, but devotee has to live a pure life, and by doing so he will be able to remember Krishna constantly, and then he will never forget him. Hmm. So disturbances are there, but important thing is that we have to live a pure life, meaning no sense gratification, falling for regulative principles, etc., etc. And when there are disturbances, like Kunti Maharani says, that will enable more remembrance, that should enable more remembrance. So for a devotee, when his life is disturbed due to material situations, this remembrance has to increase, not decrease. So remembrance will increase even when there are disturbances, because devotee is living a pure life, he will not forget Krishna, and then he'll live like that, continue to live like that, so that at the end of death also, which is a big disturbance, big trouble, death, he will not forget Krishna. Thus, meaning one who lives a pure life, who is always constantly remembering Krishna in spite of all disturbances, he at the time of his death would remember the Supreme Lord, and before his death, he would enjoy this material world. But enjoying material world doesn't mean sense gratification. Enjoying material world means performing sacrifices for the pleasure of the Lord. Hmm. When one does sacrifices, then they'll get blessings of material happiness. When there are sacrifices done. As stated in the Vedas, when one performs great sacrifices, he must give charity, not only to the Brahmanas, but also to the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. It is assured here that Dhruva Maharaj would be able to perform such activities. In this age of Kali, however, the great sacrifice is the performance of Sankirtana Yagna. Our Krishna consciousness movement is designed to teach people the exact instruction of the personality of Godhead. In this way, we shall continuously perform Sankirtana Yagna, continuously chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Then at the end of our lives, we shall certainly be able to remember Krishna, and our program of life will be successful. In this age, distribution of prasada has replaced distribution of money. No one has sufficient money to distribute, but if we distribute Krishna prasada as far as possible, this is more valuable than the distribution of money. So this is the yagna we have to do as grihasthas. We have to organize, contribute towards Sankirtana yagna, so that we also designed to teach people and to learn ourselves. So we do Sankirtana yagna, constantly chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, distribute prasada. If we live like this, we will enjoy blessings of material happiness in this life. Okay? And because this is a pure life, even if there are disturbances in our life, we will still continue to remember Krishna. And thus, at the time of death, we'll remember the Supreme Lord. This is the overall instruction. Again and again, Grihasthas have to contribute towards the Sankirtana movement. We have to contribute either by words, by energy, by money, by whatever. However, but we have to contribute. That will enable us to live a pure life. This is pure life. in Kali Yuga. When we live such a pure life, even if there are things that are disturbing, we will constantly remember Supreme Lord. Mm. And again, like I was saying, take up a project, go out of your comfort zone. These will definitely ensure remembrance, constant remembrance. ततो गन्तासि मत्स्थानं सर्वलोकन्नमस्कृतम् उपरिष्टाद् ऋषिभ्यस्त्वं यतो नावर्तते गतः. Percent of God, it continued, my dear Dhruva, after your material life in this body, you will go to my planet, which is always offered obeisances by the residents of all other planetary systems. It is situated above the planets of the seven rishis, and having gone there, you will never have to come back again to this material world. Like we already read, at the end of Brahma's life, Dhruva Maharaj will go to Vaikuntha. In this verse, the word na vartate is very significant. Lord says you will not come back to this material world, for you will reach Matsthanam, my abode. Therefore, Dhruva Loka or Polestar is the abode of Lord Vishnu within the material world. Upon it, there is an ocean of milk, and within that ocean, there's an island known as Shvetadvipa. Okay, there seems to be some conflict here. Maybe before Prabhupada said it is like Shvetadvipa. Now he's saying Shvetadvipa is there in Dhruva Loka, so unclear. It is clearly indicated that this planet is situated above the seven planetary systems of the Rishis, and because this planet is Vishnu Loka, it is worshipped by all other planetary systems. It may be questioned here that what will happen to the planet known as Dhruva Loka at the time of dissolution of this universe. Answer is simple. Dhruva Loka remains like other Vaikuntha Lokas beyond this universe. Just like Mathura, Vrindavan, Ayodhya, etc. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented in this connection that the very word na vartate indicates that this planet is eternal. Okay. Maitreya Uvacha. Ityarchitah sa Bhagavan atidishyatmanah padam balasya pashyato dama swammagad garudadhvajaha. Great sage Maitreya said, after being worshipped and honored by the boy and after offering him his abode, Lord Vishnu on the bank of Garuda returned to his abode as Dhruva Maharaj looked on. From this verse, it appears that Lord Vishnu awarded Dhruva Maharaj the same abode in which he resides. His abode is described in the Bhagavad Gita, Yadgatva Nanivartante Tadhama Paramam. Sopi Sankalpajam Vishnu Padasevopasadhitam Prapya Sankalpa Nirvanam Nati Pritobhyagad Puram. Despite having achieved the desired result of his determination by worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Dhruva was not very pleased. Thus he returned to his home. By worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service as instructed by Narada Muni, most importantly, as instructed by Narada Muni, Dhruva Maharaj achieved the desired result. So we should understand, even in our practice of devotional service, if we strictly follow the instructions of Guru and previous acharyas, then we will, of course, we have to be determined. We should be determined in worshipping the lotus feet. Then we will achieve the desired result. His desire was to get a very exalted position, excelling that of his father, grandfather, and great grandfather. And although it was a somewhat childish determination, because Dhruva was nothing but a small child, Lord Vishnu is so kind and merciful that he fulfilled Dhruva's desire. So we can also be childish. We don't have to be a child, but we can be childish in our desires. Yeah, but Lord might fulfill those desires also. Dhruva Maharaj wanted a residence more exalted than any ever occupied by anyone else in his family. Therefore, he was offered the planet in which the Lord personally resides, and his determination was completely satisfied. Still, when Dhruva Maharaj returned home, he was not very much pleased. For all the impure devotional service, there is no demand from the Lord. Because of his childish nature, he had demanded something. So we can remember this. In pure devotional service, there is no demand from the Lord, but because of our childish nature, we might demand something from the Lord. As although the Lord also fulfilled his desire, he was not very pleased. Rather, he was ashamed that he had demanded something from the Lord, for he should not have done this. And so we should also have this mood. We are going to Krishna and asking for something, we should be ashamed about ourselves, because we should not do this. Because that is not pure devotional service. So important thing is determination, and we can understand that even if we have desires like this, at the end we will not be pleased. Because in the beginning of Bhagavatam only, there's a question by all the rishis saying, by what will the Atma be pleased? Ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. That's the answer, right? Unmotivated, unbroken devotional service will give pleasure to the Atma. So if we are engaged, that is pure devotional service. If we are engaged in mixed devotional service, it's not going to please us. That we will realize later, and then we would have lost time. So better hear from Srimad Bhagavatam and understand, saying that it's not, doesn't make sense to run behind material desires. And correct our ways right now, so that we don't then have to repent later, saying that, oh, I didn't, neither I achieved that nor I achieved this. It's very clear. Right? So we have to be ashamed, and we have to give up this childish nature. Vidruvacha. Sudurlabham yat paramam padam harer maya vinastacharanaarchanarjitam ladvapyasiddhartam ivaika janmana katam swamatmanam amanyatarthavit. Mitra inquired, my dear Brahmana, the abode of Lord is very difficult to attain. It can be attained only by pure devotional service, which alone pleases the most affectionate, merciful Lord. So nice, see. Most affectionate, merciful Lord. Dhruva Maharaj achieved this position even in one life, and he was very wise and conscientious. Why then was he not very pleased? And Vidura's inquiry is very relevant. The word arthavit, which refers to one who knows how to discriminate between reality and unreality or falsity, is very significant in this connection. And arthavit is also called a paramahamsa. Paramahamsa accepts only the active principle of everything. Just as a swan accepts only the milk from a mixture of water and milk, a Paramahamsa accepts only the Supreme Person of Godhead as his life and soul, neglecting all external material things. Dhruva Maharaj was in this category, and due to his determination, he achieved the result he desired. But still, when he returned home, he was not very pleased. Maitreya Vacha. Matu sapatnya vagbhaner hृदि viddhastu tan smaran naichan muktipater muktim tasma tapam upeyivan. Maitreya answered, Dhruva Maharaj's heart, which was pierced by the arrows of the harsh words of his stepmother, was greatly aggrieved. And thus, when he fixed upon his goal of life, he did not forget her misbehavior. He did not demand actual liberation from this material world. But at the end of his devotional service, when the Supreme Lord appeared before him, he was simply ashamed of the material demands he had in his mind. He did not demand. He did not demand it. He just had in his mind. He did not ask the Lord, but still he felt ashamed. Because he had still was very greatly aggrieved, and he fixed that as the goal of his life. This important verse has been discussed by many stalwart commentators. Why was Dhruva Maharaj not very pleased, even after achieving the goal of life he desired? Pure devotee is always free from any kind of material desires. In the material world, one's material desires are almost demoniac. One thinks of others as one's enemies, one thinks of revenge against one's enemies. One aspires to become the topmost leader or topmost person in this material world, and thus one competes with all others. The competition. Even in devotional service, we compete to take positions. Prabhupada in the first chapter only of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, he says, devotees are above this competition. They are they are above this competition of this material world. But looks like not fully, right? Because even in devotional service, there is position, there is la, puja, pratishtha. And sometimes some people might end up running, competing for this. And once we become attached to a position, that is the beginning of our fall down. So we have to be very careful. This has been described in the Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter as Asurik. Your devotee has no demand from the Lord. His only concern is to serve the Lord sincerely and seriously. Again, see, Asurik. 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 Again, same words which I keep repeating: sincere, serious. And he's not at all concerned about what will happen in the future. He's not at all concerned. This one statement, if we can incorporate in our life, then our life will become successful. A pure devotee's concern is to serve the Lord sincerely and seriously, and is not at all concerned about what will happen in the future. In the Mukunda Mala Stotra, King Kulashekara, author of the book, states in his prayer, "My dear Lord, I don't want any position of sense gratification within this material world. I simply want to engage in your service perpetually." Similarly, Lord Chaitanya in his Shikshastaka also prayed, My Lord, I do not want any amount of material wealth, materialistic followers, nor do I want any attractive wife to enjoy. The only thing I want is that I may engage life after life in your service. Lord Chaitanya did not pray even for mukti or liberation. In this verse, Maitreya replied to Vidura that Dhruva, influenced by a revengeful attitude towards his insulting stepmother, did not think of mukti, nor did he know what mukti was. Therefore, he failed to aim for mukti as his goal of life. But a pure devotee also does not want liberation. Is a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord, and it does not demand anything from the Lord. This position was realized by Dhruva when he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead present personally before him, because he was elevated to the Vasudeva platform. So Dhruva realized this, that I should not have demanded anything. Why? Because he was elevated to the Vasudeva platform when the Lord touched him. The Vasudeva platform refers to the stage at which material contamination is conspicuous by absence only, or in other words, where there is no question of material modes, and one can therefore see the Supreme Person of Godhead. Traigunya Vishaveda Nistraigunya Bhavardhana. Shuddha Sattva. No material contamination. Because on the Vasudeva platform, one can see God face to face. The Lord is also called Vasudeva. Dhrumaraj's demand was for a position so exalted that it was never enjoyed even by Lord Brahma, his great grandfather. Krishna is so affectionate and kind towards his devotee, especially to a devotee like Dhruva, who went to render devotional service in the forest alone at the age of only 5 years, that although the motive might be impure, the Lord does not consider the motive. He is considered with the service. But if a devotee has a particular motive, the Lord directly or indirectly knows it, and therefore he does not leave the devotee's material desires unfulfilled. These are some of the special favors by the Lord. But again, as we have discussed this multiple times, that even though that material desires remain unfulfilled, just like Dhruva, a devotee becomes purified. He comes out of the contamination. So he will stop asking for material things in course of time. Dhruva Maharaj was offered Dhruvaloka, a planet that was never resided upon by any conditioned soul. Even Brahma, although the topmost living creature within this universe, was not allowed to enter Dhruvaloka. Whenever there is a crisis within this universe, demigods go to see Supreme Personality Godhead Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and they stand on the beach of the Milk Ocean. So the fulfillment of Dhruva Maharaj's demand was offered to him, position more exalted than even his great grandfather, Brahma. Here in this verse, the Lord is described as Muktipati, which means one under whose lotus feet there are all kinds of mukti. 5 kinds of mukti: Sayajya, Sarupya, Salokya, Samipya, Sarsti. Out of these 5 muktis, which can be achieved by any person engaged in devotional service, the one which is known as Sayajya is generally demanded by Mayavadi philosophers. They will demand to become one with the impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Lord. In the opinion of many scholars, this Sayajya Mukti, although counted among the 5 kinds of mukti, is not actually mukti, because from Sayajya one may again fall down to this material world. This is information we have from Srimad Bhagavatam. When it is said Patanti Adaha, they again fall down. The monist philosopher, after executing severe austerity, merges into the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. But the living entity also wants reciprocation in loving affairs. Therefore, although the monist is elevated to the status of being one with the effulgence of the Lord, because there is no facility for associating with the Lord and rendering service to him, he again falls into this material world. So this is very nice. Living entity always wants reciprocation in loving affairs. But then conditioned souls are trying to accomplish this through material relations. And that's not bound to happen. We're not going to get it, then we are disappointed. So we should always look for reciprocation, loving affairs with the Lord. because that will never fail. But because one who achieves Sayujya doesn't have this reciprocation, he falls into this material world again, and his service propensity is satisfied by materialistic welfare activities like humanitarianism, altruism, philanthropy. There are many instances of such fall downs, even for great sannyasis in the Mayavada school. Therefore, Vaishnava philosophers do not accept Sayujya to be within the category of mukti. According to them, mukti means transferal to the loving service of the Lord from one's position of serving Maya. Lord Chaitanya also says in this connection that the constitutional purpose of a living entity is to render service to the Lord. That is real mukti. When one is situated in his original position, giving up artificial positions is called mukta. Artificial positions means all upadhis, designations of this material world. Father, mother, son, daughter, manager, owner, whatever, blah blah. The Bhagavad Gita, this is confirmed. Anyone who engages in rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord is considered to be mukta or brahmabhuta. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that a devotee is considered to be on the brahmabhuta platform when he has no material contamination. Na sochati na kankshati. That is material contamination. In the Padma Purana also this is confirmed. Mukti means engagement in the service of the Lord. So mukti means engagement in the service of the Lord, means no material contamination. So what we are doing is just partial. When we are actually doing bhakti, then no material contamination. The great sage Maitreya explained that Dhruva did not desire in the beginning to engage in the service of the Lord, but he wanted an exalted position better than his great grandfathers. This is more or less not service to the Lord, but service to the senses. Even if one gets the position of Brahma, the most exalted position in this material world, he is a conditioned soul. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says that if one is elevated to real pure devotional service, he considers even great demigods like Brahma and Indra to be on an equal level with an insignificant insect. And the reason is that an insignificant insect has a desire for sense gratification. And even a great personality like Lord Brahma also wants to dominate this material nature. Sense gratification means domination over material nature. The whole competition between conditioned souls is based upon domination of this material nature. Domination, that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to dominate. Modern scientists are proud of their knowledge because they're discovering new methods to dominate the laws of material nature. They think that this is the advancement of human civilization. The more they can dominate the material laws, the more advanced they are. Dhruva Maharaj's propensity in the beginning was like that. He wanted to dominate this material world in a greater position than Lord Brahma. Therefore, elsewhere it is described that after the appearance of the Lord, when Dhruva thought and compared his determination to his final reward, he realized that he had wanted a few particles of broken glass, but instead had received many diamonds. As soon as he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, he immediately became conscious of the unimportance of his demand from the Lord to have an exalted position better than Lord Brahma. When Dhruva Maharaj became situated on the Vasudeva platform due to seeing the Lord face to face, all his material contamination was cleared. Thus he became ashamed of what his demands were and what he had achieved. He was very much ashamed, thinking that although he had gone to Madhuvan, giving up the kingdom of his father, and he had gotten a spiritual master like Narada Muni, he was still thinking of revenge against his stepmother and wanted to occupy an exalted post within this material world. Actually, this is also very significant. See, even though he had gotten a spiritual master like Narada Muni, he did not overcome, he did not win over his contamination. He continued in that same contamination to do devotional service. So we should understand this. This is not good. If you have a spiritual master, then at that point of time, you have to give up all this material nonsense. Otherwise, we're going to be ashamed. That's all. These were the causes of his moroseness, even after he received all the desired benedictions from the Lord. Yeah. So materially, we might also receive all those benedictions, and we'll be At one stage, thinking, saying that, okay, I got whatever I want, but I didn't get the Supreme Lord. I wasted my life. When Dhruva Maharaj actually saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of a revengeful attitude towards his stepmother, nor any aspiration to lord it over material world. But Supreme Lord is so kind that he knew that Dhruva Maharaj wanted this. See, so look at this. He met his spiritual master who is a representative of Krishna, and who is as powerful as Krishna. But he did not give up his contamination. When he saw the Lord, everything was gone. Hmm. But still, Supreme Personality of Godhead, he gave him whatever because he knew that he wanted this in the heart. He wanted, Dhruva Maharaj wanted it. Hmm. Speaking before Dhruva, he used the word Vedaham because when Dhruva demanded material benefits, Lord was present within his heart and so knew everything. Lord always knows everything a man is thinking. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita also. Vedaham samatitani. So that means that Lord knew that it is better to fulfill this demand. And then anyway, now Dhruva is, this desire was before he became purified. So that desire is still not gone from his heart. So by enjoying it will go. Because every day he'll enjoy, every day he will repent. And then by that mood itself, he will not want any other material desire. And so he will then perfect his life. The Lord knew that. So he says, okay, yeah, he had some desire. Now he doesn't have any new desires, but it's okay, I'll fulfill that also. Lord fulfilled all Dhruva Maharaj's desires. His revengeful attitude towards his stepmother and stepbrother was satisfied. Just look at this. Revengeful attitude also was satisfied. Oh, we have to be very careful. That is why. If you have any bad feeling towards somebody and we are seriously trying to practice devotion service, then it will cause a lot of difficulty for those souls. Because Lord might fulfill something nasty we have in our heart. So Lord fulfilled that also. His desire for a more exalted position than that of his great grandfather was also fulfilled. At the same time, his eternal position, Dhruva was fixed. Although Dhruva Maharaj's achievement of an eternal planet was not conceived of by him, Krishna thought, what will Dhruva do with an exalted position within this material world? Therefore, he gave Dhruva the opportunity to rule this material world for 36,000 years with unchangeable senses and the chance to perform many great sacrifices and thus become the most reputed king within this material world. And after finishing with all this material enjoyment, Dhruva would be promoted to the spiritual world, which includes the Dhruva Loka. But the most important thing here is to understand that Dhruva Maharaj's mind had changed after doing devotional service and getting the darshan of the Lord. So we should not think that we should also pray like this, that let me get all these material opulences. And then I finish all material enjoyment, then I will go to spiritual world like Dhruva. No, that's not possible. Because Dhruva Maharaj's mind was already purified. Supreme Lord gave him this, knowing that he is not going to lose track. In fact, by enjoying that, he will become more strict and serious about devotional service because he will constantly remember the mistake he did in wanting this from the Lord. So his repentance will make sure that he will not fall down. But if he simply desire material things, then there are all chances that we fall down. We should not look at Dhruva Maharaj's pastime and think, okay, Dhruva wanted material desires, he achieved it, he also achieved Krishna. Let me also do that. Yeah, but Dhruva did such a severe devotional service. If we are able to do that, yes, then we can also follow in Dhruva Maharaj's footsteps, right? But possibly we'll be far, far, far from what he did. So better not take this pravritti marg. Better take to the path of pure devotion and just try to do everything for the Lord's pleasure. And that is guaranteed result for us. Okay, very important purport. You can please read this multiple times, but yeah, the essence is clear. Okay, I'll stop here. If anybody has any questions, comments? Anything, anybody? Yeah,
Prabhu,
Prabhu.
I have one question.
1 second, Prabhu. Shashank Prabhu, yeah.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Then
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Pranam.
Prabhu, initially we will be having desires like before coming to Krishna conscious, even after coming to Krishna conscious. For
Hmm.
some months, we will be having material desires only, I would say, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm.
Then will it be accounted as a wrong because we were not knowing and we had some material desires? Then it'll be also accounted, no Prabhu. Then we are doing
Accounted
wrong way.
meaning?
Accounted in the sense now Dhruva felt ashamed
Yeah.
because now at the time we were not knowing this thing we should not do. We should not
Yeah.
be hankering for material desires
Yeah.
initially.
Yeah.
Will that be wrong or like then we'll be wrong, no
No,
Prabhu?
what is wrong or right? See, here there's nothing like wrong or right in the sense, see, if we have material desires, we have material desires. But that is the whole idea of Shravanam. The whole idea of Shravanam, reading from Srila Prabhupada's books, is to understand what is wrong mentality, right? And then, oh yeah, if we still see, there are things in Krishna consciousness which even after reading zillion times, we might not be able to incorporate it in our life because of our very strong conditioning from past lives. Mm. And which is why we keep saying that we have to do Tivra Bhakti, we have to be in the association of pure devotees. Then there are chances that all this nonsense can go away. But left to ourselves, our conditioning might be so strong that we might not be able to come out of these contamination at all for many years. The only thing a devotee needs to do is constantly feel repentant about his position, feel ashamed, keep begging for mercy, try to overcome his anarthas.
Okay,
And
Prabhu.
that's all that is expected. Mm. Yeah,
Because
it's wrong
now,
in the sense it's not. See, it's wrong in the sense that it is not pure devotion. Mm. Um, but yeah, what can be done? At least we have come to Krishna and we are trying to, maybe fulfill our material desires, which is pious, which is pious. But of course, our material desire should also be a little bit more pious, sattvic, and it should not be very rajasic or tamasic. Then it is the varnashrama system. In varnashrama, everybody was given an opportunity to have sattvic happiness. There was nobody was prevented from that. Sattvic happiness is not wrong as such, but it's pious. Maybe that's all. And if you're careful about what we are wanting to achieve and how we are wanting to achieve, it can be pious at the maximum, but it's not pure devotion. So we should feel ashamed, and then we'll slowly, steadily come out of this mindset of enjoyment or completely. That okay?
yeah, okay, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Because I just saw the sentence ashamed. So
Yeah,
then
good. Good.
initially,
Yeah, catch the right words. And that should keep
yeah,
working in your mind. Ashamed, 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 ashamed. Then you'll come out of whatever you're talking.
yeah, so many things initially we are now I'm feeling
Ashamed.
why did I
Very
even
good.
ask like that? So
Good, good,
I got through.
good. Yeah. Yeah. That's what is expected. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu, I have a question. So, even though Dhruva Maharaj's heart was purified, Lord fulfilled his earlier material desire.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Lord could have also given him association of devotees or something. So,
Mm.
this is a very dangerous position that even if a devotee transforms his heart by constant devotional service, sometimes Lord might fulfill earlier material desires.
No,
Which is
no, no,
not.
no, no, no. That's not how we should understand this. See, the Dhruva Maharaj was he's a small child. Okay. So he did not know. There's only one part of this, right? Which is he's just feeling bad. Why did I have something like that? Okay. But he did not pray for anything devotional because he was very small, right? So if you think of our lives, we should now say, oh, okay, no, I was having that nonsense desire. I don't want that. I want this. I want association with devotees. I want pure devotional service. I want to dedicate my life in the mission of Srila Prabhupada. We should desire positive. We should positively desire these things on the spiritual platform. Then even if we have had some material desires, if those material desires are conflicting with these spiritual desires, Lord will not fulfill it.
Hmm.
So there's no risk, right? So, but only thing is, it's like Sudama. Sudama was initially indifferent about wealth. Then initially he did not want wealth. Then he became indifferent about wealth. When he became indifferent about wealth, because the Lord knew that Sudama is not going to lose track, he gave him wealth. Because he knew that, even if I give nothing, this person, this devotee is not going to be not going to budge. He's not going to get affected by this. He's not going to get contaminated, right? But if the Lord thinks that no, this person had this desire before, and if I give this, he's going to fall. He's not going to give. That is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. He is our Hitaishi. Yeah. Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam Sarvalokam Surudam. Prabhupada translates it as well-wisher, benefactor. So he will not give us anything which will result in a fall down.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, Jai. We'll close here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Vancha Kalpatarupishta Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha. Patitanam Pavane Vaishnava Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.